Hi, and welcome back to Jim the Car Guy. Today we're going to be working on a 2006. It's a Cadillac, and it's an STS with a 3.6 liter engine. Probably have today is leaking antifreeze, and after looking at it, I found that the water pump is leaking. So I'm going to show you step by step how to remove the water pump, replace it with a new one, fill it all up, and complete the job without any kind of complications. So let me show you what I'm going to do, and we're going to get started. And don't forget afterwards, subscribe to my channel, and give me a like or whatever. Let's get over there and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit more room inside here. We're going to take this cover off right here. Very easy to come off. Basically, we're just going to take this cap off and this cap off, and then we just pull this cover up and it comes right off. We may be able to get in there without going any further, so let's get in there and get started. And as you see down here, this is the water pump right down underneath here. Right here, this is your pump, and you'll see the antifreeze running down and dripping down onto that lower crankshaft right there. So we're going to change the pumps, we're going to change the belt, and let's get started on it. Grab some tools and let's get working. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this cover off. We're just going to take these two out, and then we'll just grab the cover on the side here. You just lift it, and it pops right off. And we'll just relocate this to the side so we have a little bit of room to work. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to remove the fan belt down inside here. We're going to take the belts off here, and the way you do this, you get in here with a half-inch ratchet or whatever you have to take that and release the tension on that. And the same thing on the other side, down underneath here. We're going to do the same thing on this side here. What we're going to do is we're going to just take this off here so we have a little bit more room to work. And you just unscrew the clamp here and the clamp on this side over here. And we'll just take it off the engine. Just give us a little more room to work in here. Same thing on this side over here. We're just going to rock it and get it off. Be careful, you don't want to break anything. It is only made of plastic. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to release those pulleys. Okay, and the way you're going to do it is just get in here, put your half-inch drive ratchet into here, just push down on it, and you can remove your belt. But before we do that, okay, after you have this cover off here, before you take this fan belt off over here, we're going to break these 10mm nuts loose on the water pump first before we remove the belt, because it'll make it easier to break them loose. Not going to take them totally out, you're just going to break them loose. Alright, once they're loose, then you can go and you can take off your fan belt. And you just push down on it, and then you remove the belt from the alternator. And let the tensioner back up, and you can take the belt totally off the car now. We're going to be replacing the fan belt because the antifreeze that's in there. also going to Now normally you wouldn't have to take off the belt for the air conditioner, but in this case we're going to be changing that belt too. So we're going to take the air conditioning belt off at the same time. And again, the way you do that is you just put the ratchet into the, I'll show you. You just put the ratchet in, very simply. You just put the ratchet in like that. And then you lift the tension off like this, and you can remove the fan belt. So I'm going to do that right now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come down inside here, and we're going to take off the bolts that we previously loosened up, those 10 millimeter bolts that hold the pulley to the water pump. Now you've broken them loose already, so you don't have to worry about holding the pulley, and you just take them out. Don't lose them because you're going to need to reuse these bolts on the new water pump. Take your pulley, and we're going to need to reuse this pulley, so just relocate it to the side for now. And then the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you, is we're going to come down to the water pump down here. This is the water pump on the car. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of these screws around the outside of the water pump, and then we're going to remove it from the car. Now I just want to add that I did drain this antifreeze out already, but if you didn't drain it out, when you take this off, you're going to wind up losing a lot of antifreeze. So if you do, make sure you have a bucket down below, and you can make a mess in wherever you're working. All right, so let me take those bolts out. And just so you know, there is going to be some kind of antifreeze coming out. Even though you drain the radiator down, there's still going to be antifreeze leaking from inside the water pump where it's into to the block itself. So be prepared for that because you will have a little bit of antifreeze loss. So let's continue. After it finishes draining out and you have all your bolts out of it, then you can just take the hammer and tap on the side of the pulley, just one tap, and it comes right out. Alright, and that's the pump. Then what we're going to do, to show you, down underneath here, you see this gasket that's on here? You need to get this gasket off because we have to put a new gasket on there. A couple of different ways you can do it. You can use a tool like that to clean it off, which is what I use. Or you can use something like this here, a razor blade, to scrape it off. But you got to make sure that that surface is clean. The entire gasket has got to come off. So let me clean that off. And once I get it cleaned off, then we'll come right back and I'll show you how to put it back together. Okay, now that we got everything cleaned off down in there, we're going to put the water pump back on. Now the pump only goes on one way, and you can see that this bottom little piece that protrudes down is actually sticking down through the bottom. So we put a very, very light coat of silicone on here because it's so we don't have any kind of leaks underneath there. We used adhesive to hold the gasket to the pump itself, and now we're going to put it back on. We're going to catch all the bolts in there before we tighten it up. So let's put it in there and let's start to get this together. Before you tighten anything up, catch all the bolts in there first. After you get them all snug, then you go back around and you tighten everything up so it's fairly tight. Remember, you're going into aluminum, so you don't want to tighten it too tight and strip it out. Now after we have the pump tight, we're going to put our pulley back on that we previously took off. Screw those bolts in by hand again. And then we'll grab our fan belt and put the belts on. Now remember, we took the inner belt off first, so we're going to put that one on first, and then we'll put the outer belt on. So let me grab the belts and put them on. I'll show you how I did it in just a minute. Now what you do is you lay the belt back inside on the pulley here and down on the bottom here. You pull this forward and you slide the belt in place. So that belt's on. Let's put our second belt on. Second belt back in the way we took it out. And we have our second belt on. I just want to point out, before you do anything, make sure that the belt is in the grooves the way it belongs, otherwise you're going to wind up with the belt coming off. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to tighten up that bolt on the front of the water pump, 10 millimeters. We're just going to snug them in. Again, you're going into aluminum, so you don't want to over tighten it and snap them off. Nice and tight. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put some antifreeze in this thing, and then we'll reassemble the front here. So let's grab some antifreeze and get this job wrapped up and out the door. Now that we've got the water pump tight and the fan belts are all on, we're going to reinstall that snorkel up in the front here for the air intake. Reinstall it the way we took it off. Tighten up the screws. You can either use a screwdriver or it's an 8mm socket, whichever works for you. Don't forget to reattach your hose that you previously disconnected. Alright, then we're going to put our cover back on the engine. The way the cover goes on is very simply just these little pins that are sticking up here. You line them up with the pins under the hood here and it snaps right in. So put it on, line it up, and just tap it down. Put your two caps back on, your power steering, as well as your motor oil. And the last thing we're going to do, we're going to fill up the antifreeze, and that gets filled up right on this side, right over here. We're just going to pour the antifreeze in here, we'll fill it up, and we're going to run the job just to make sure it's not leaking, and we'll wrap it up and get it out the door. All right, hope everything goes good for you. Have any problems, any questions, drop me a line. Be more than happy to talk to you about it. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us the thumbs up. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.